Now, a very royal scandal. Amazon Prime has released the much-anticipated three-part programme. It chronicles that infamous Prince Andrew Newsnight interview from 2019.
5 years on from that interview, we're asking whether the controversial prince has any future in the royal family, or would allowing him back into the fold be a mistake?
OK, well, former Royal Gardener Jack Stokes joins us now, alongside royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams. Very good morning to both of you gentlemen. And Richard, let's start with you, shall we? Would you like to see Prince Andrew back in the royal fold?
Well, there's absolutely no chance of that at all. As I think we all know, Prince Andrew is absolutely toxic. And if you look at the latest YouGov poll, you'll see he has some 12% support. He has vehemently denied the charges of sexual assault against him by Virginia Roberts Giuffre, and he's not been convicted of anything. But nonetheless, reportedly some £12 million was paid to settle the civil suit. And the facts are that in the court of public opinion, and the monarchy has to pay close attention to that, he has been found and is considered guilty. He's done absolutely nothing that could or would be considered helpful to the FBI to try and trace Epstein's accomplices. And if you look at this interview, I mean, yes, you mentioned a very British scandal following Scoop, is dramatization of the events that led up to it. Nothing like this has ever been seen. It's so absolutely grotesque. People see him as a symbol of entitled imbecility. And unfortunately for him, what should he do? Well, get a job on the royal estate, possibly, and also do some charitable work. The facts are, however, that so far as people are concerned, the British public, it would be absolutely unthinkable if he were to resume any form of royal duties as things stand at the moment.
Just to bring in Jack, you knew or know Andrew personally, and clearly he's had a lot of bad press. But it wasn't always the case, was it? You take a different view.
No, I think when we look back to him being in the Falklands, he fought for the country, he came back, and I think at that point in time, he was sort of revered and thought of as this sort of hero that's come back to England, one of the few royal family members that have fought in the war for the country. And, you know, I think that should be remembered of Prince Andrew. I'm not saying that what he's done is right or wrong. I mean, we all saw that interview, and I would be lying to say it wasn't a car crash. It was a complete and utter wreck. But that interview has given us all something fantastic to talk about at dinners. I mean, we're still talking about it now, that many years on. He's not actually doing anything wrong now. He wasn't found guilty. Yes, I'm aware he paid monies, but Virginia, I think at the time, said it wasn't about money. She wanted her story heard. She wanted everything to be known. And suddenly she disappeared. You know, a bit of money crossed her palm and she was gone. So we're still not sure quite what went on. He wasn't found guilty, yet he's still being judged for that. As opposed to the friendship with Epstein, yeah, completely awful man that he was, and he was found to have done all these grotesque things. So that isn't the fact that he might not have known. He might have known. We don't know the full side of that story. But currently, Prince Andrew's at his house where he has been. He's still there with his ex-wife, who I think he lives with. They do charitable work still. I know he's probably doing it in the background through his former wife and through helping his children as well, which, I mean, we can see the children are great. They are wonderful. And I think they do help the family. He's 8th in line, I think, to the throne right now. And you can't just suddenly go, oh, actually, no, you're done. You know, like a scratch card that was no good, and just throw him out. He is still part of the royal family, just like Harry is. They all are blood related and very closely.
Yeah. Sorry, just to step in there, Richard, but these are very serious allegations, Jack, and I know that Prince Andrew wasn't found guilty of any wrongdoing in that civil sexual assault case, and he's obviously denied any wrongdoing throughout all of this, but there is that reported sum of £12 million, $16 million, however you'd like to put it, and a friendship with a convicted sex offender. I mean, for most people, they would say there's absolutely no coming back from that.
Oh, no, completely horrendous. And I completely agree with you all on that. You know, horrendous, heinous crimes. I mean, all of those things should and really were, I think, looked into. With regards to the money, yes, it would be amazing to know why that amount of money was paid. You know, that is the question we all need to know and want to know. But Andrew's been very quiet. So at this moment in time, we still don't quite know what's gone on. And I think instead of sort of going to town on I don't know what we're trying to do is sort of push Andrew out of the house. I don't know where we're going with that, but I think more what needs to happen is if it's felt that it wasn't looked into properly enough, if we hadn't been sort of researched, if we haven't had enough police look into it, then maybe that is what needs to happen. You know, maybe it needs to be reopened, find out why the money was spent, find out where it's gone, find out get to the full, you know, get to the crux of actually what's gone on. And if it's found that he's guilty, then 100% he should be dealt with in that sense. But if he's been found that actually he wasn't guilty, then again, at least we know the end game of where we're all at.
Just to bring Richard in for a final word, we now have this division between working and non-working royals. If Prince Andrew is a non-working royal, shouldn't he just be left alone and allowed to live in private?
Well, the facts are that he is a member of the world's most high-profile royal family. The facts are also that when people think of Prince Andrew, they think of a photograph taken in Ghislaine Maxwell's London home in 2001, and there he is with his arm around Virginia Roberts-Giuffre. We also think of the fact that he callously never mentioned the victims of the deceased paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. They also consider, if you look at a whole list, it's entitlement, and to a level that's extraordinary. I mean, even the fact it's not illegal, it simply happened that his former home, Sunning Hill Park, was put on the market and just so happened to be sold to a Kazakh oligarch for £3 million more. The whole point, the optics of this are absolutely appalling, and any consideration of the royal family will give to having him in public. I mean, it's news the moment he appears in the context of a church service of some sort or another. That's one thing, but when it comes to anything at all, remember he had over 200 royal patronages. Most of them couldn't wait to get rid of him, and of course he can't use his HRH. He's lost his military titles and so forth. But as special representative of British trade, I mean, he was somewhat of a disaster. And as it is, well, I mean, we've got a person who is frankly a national joke, whether it's doesn't sweat or whether he goes to Pizza Express, working all of this. I mean, the interview was so ghastly that it will be used in decades to come, taught in universities in public relations classes as to how not to behave, and frankly, I don't think he's learnt very much. You just look at a public opinion poll and you see what people think. 88% of people in York wanted to lose any connection with him, and so far as any of this, when he's not doing, for example, charitable work of any sort or anything that might rehabilitate him in the public eye, there's no way the royal family would even consider giving him any form of job of any sort other than running the royal estates and something quiet.
OK, I'm afraid we're out of time. Former Royal Gardener, Senior Gardener at the Royal Estate, Jack Stokes, and Royal Commentator Richard Fitzwilliams. Thank you very much indeed.